Start interviewing, man.
Cool.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 100th episode of Concerned Dabs Podcast. I'm your host, Katie MK. My guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, his name is Jack Naito, and he works for Luna Technologies. And
hey,
dude,
what's going on, Katie? Thanks for having me on.
I'm chilling, man. So Luna Technologies, you guys make cannabis extraction equipment, correct?
Yep, we make all fully automated extraction equipment. We've been doing BHO equipment for about, I guess this will be our 6th year.
Nice.
And then, we're just getting into ethanol extraction too.
Nice. So I think how I heard about you guys was through Jason. I used to work for Jackson McCormick at Natural Wonders, and he had a buddy named Jason.
Yeah.
And I think he helped start. Is he still a part of your guys' company? Did he? Because he helped start it or something like that. I remember going to, because he had a store for a while too out there in like the industrial district, and then I think he ended up selling the license. But I remember.
Yeah. I think it's like, I don't know. It gets a little complicated, but I think Jason had part of a store that the co-founder of Luna Technologies was a part of down in the industrial area.
Yeah.
So he's been around. I've known him for a while now.
Yeah, man, he's a real cool cat. But that was how I heard about you guys. So you guys are doing your own thing. You and your partner are doing your own thing now.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, dude. Because I've been following you guys on IG, and then I think there was a post that was like, check out our white paper. And I was like, oh, cool, man. So I clicked the link and downloaded it. And then somebody emailed me like a month later, and they're like, hey, man. I'm like, nah. I'm like, man, I cannot afford one of those pieces of equipment. I'm just a weed nerd. I'm like, it'd be cool to talk to one of your guys about your equipment, though. And they're like, we'll get back to you. And they did, man. So here we are.
Oh, sweet. Dude. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been trying to do a bunch of those white papers and just like educational content like that.
Dude,
just because it's kind of missing in the industry. Like there's a few groups who are trying to do it, and we're just trying to be a part of it and add to the knowledge base.
Yeah, man, that was my whole idea for this show too, dude. Was that like the coverage in the regular mainstream media is like barely skimming the surface. You know what I mean?
I completely agree.
And it's super dumbed down. And I'm like, man, people are smart enough to understand these terms and what's going on. You guys don't have to dumb it down so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's why I like podcasts, because it's long form. It's not just a little 2-minute thing. You know, It's like, nah, I get to ask the guy about all kinds of shit.
But then the other side of it too is that you have all these new people coming into the industry, which really was me, 6 or 7 years ago, who really don't know anything about it. So like, you got to start from the beginning with people who are new to the industry too, because it's not like, in a million ways it's different from alcohol, but like everyone is somewhat familiar with alcohol, right? Because it's just been in the culture, like the mainstream culture, for longer.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, dude, that's how I wanted to start too, is how did you get into the industry, and like what's your background career-wise?
Yeah. So I was technically a materials process and physics engineer at Boeing.
Damn.
Basically, it's like I have a degree in mechanical engineering, so it's a mechanical engineering type job.
So you're like molding parts and shit like that, or what?
Yeah. Most of what we were doing was composites related. So we're trying to do different methods of fabrication with composites. It was a ton of fun. I loved it. But I have this old friend, Tyler Buck, who we've known each other since first grade. And
him. I saw him at Jason's house all the time too when I go over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the two of us, like, we were just talking. I was, I don't know, I was happy with my job, but Tyler just kind of talked me into coming back to Portland. I was living in St. Louis at the time, and he had an extraction business then that I think maybe, that's when he was working with Jason.
Yeah.
And so back then I originally came back to Portland to help redesign equipment for him. Because everything in the industry at that point, is all like designing garages and taken from other industries. which is just
Yeah.
where it has to start, right?
Yeah.
But like there was some safety issues, and then one of Kyler's big problems was that he was just having problems. He was having trouble scaling his business.
Yeah.
So like he'd hire on a new employee to help operate the equipment, and often like as soon as Kyler would leave the room, their product quality would kind of go way down. And so he really
Uh,
wanted to automate the process. So I came back to help him automate and help him redesign some of it too.
that's
So
tight.
then, yeah, after maybe like 6 months working with Kyler for his business, we decided to start this second company, Luna Technologies, together to design and build cannabis extraction equipment.
Tight. Yeah, because I remember I don't know if it was a post or something, or maybe they were just talking about it, but it was like automated. And I remember it had like a little tablet screen and shit too,
Yep,
and all these
yep.
different displays. And I'm like, dude, that looks dope. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah, yeah,
just,
yeah.
I mean, as deep as you want to get into that too, dude, if you can. My bad. I'm fucking silence. My bad. But yeah, dude. So how do you go about automating some of those processes, man? Because when they were explaining it to me, or it was just like, dude, that's sick. So you just load the fucking column and it just goes, and they're like, yeah, pretty much, man. You
Yeah,
can
that's for sure.
control all
That's
this
it.
shit on the tablet. I'm like, damn,
Yeah,
that's
so it's
legit.
yeah, it's all like through our touch screen. Or most of it is. So basically just like you were saying, like you load the material, you walk out of the extraction room, press go on the touch screen, and then come back. We just started releasing email notifications and text notifications. So like you can get texted if the run's done and then just walk back and unload it.
Damn.
Um, and then all of it's all it, you can access all of it remotely too. So there's like a phone app that you can use to get into it, or you could do it on a PC from a desktop or something. So you could have like someone, like out of state who's monitoring your process if you want.
Fuck, dude, that's legit, man.
Yeah.
Super duper high tech. And
Yeah. I mean, it's really like what all the other manufacturing industries are doing. So we're just trying to bring it into cannabis. And then, yeah, part of the hard part is that because people aren't, like BHO extraction, especially to make all the craft products,
yeah,
it kind of takes someone who has a deep understanding of just of extraction in general.
yeah.
Like it takes a fine touch, and so it's hard to translate that into automation, just to make sure you still got the same quality you're getting.
Yeah, dude, like, yeah. So I mean, so Kyler was more the cannabis guy on that, like I need it to be this temp, this pressure for this long.
Yep, yep.
And then you would like adjust, like, dude, that's
That
fucking,
was pretty much exactly it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's tight, bro.
But
Um,
then sometimes it's like a little more wishy-washy than that. Like for part of the process, you'd have someone looking in a sight glass and try to like get the flow rate right, where they're just looking at solvent shooting out of something and trying, just by experience, trying to dial it in. And
yeah.
so there's some things that are a little harder to measure and translate into a computer program.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure too, how tight you pack the column can affect the
Yep.
pressure going through. You'd have to adjust for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And if the material is, finer or more coarse, you know what I mean, that could affect
Yeah.
it, and because dude, like all of the little promo videos I see is just, it looks simple, and then it just shows the shit pouring out into a fucking glass pan. I'm like,
Yep.
fuck, that looks easy, dude. They had to work on that shit for a long time to make it look like that, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we try to do as much in the automation as possible. So then, like, we can give our equipment to a customer. They can spend maybe a few days dialing in the recipes.
Uh-huh.
So everything's controlled by a recipe that's in the computer program, and you can change that recipe however you want. So we'll send it out with a few kind of stock recipes for making different products.
Yeah.
And then as customers get going, everyone's got different access to different biomass. Everyone wants to make their products slightly differently. So
Yeah.
they can tweak those recipes to get them exactly how they want. And then once they have that dialed in, then it's just, hit the button and watch it.
Damn, dude. That shit's cool, bro. That's hella
Yeah,
cool.
thanks. Yeah.
So did it start out as CO2 extraction and then switch to BHO extraction, or do you guys, is it like, do you still maintain both options on the equipment? Can you explain some of that? And then what some of
Yeah.
the, like, because I don't know, dude, I'm not a dab guy. I stopped dabbing in like 2014, 2015. I just, and then we figured out the pesticide shit. So I'm like, maybe that's why my heart was fucking feeling like that. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm just a flower guy now. So, but I hear people argue about CO2 and BHO and
Yeah.
solventless. Everybody's like, nah, rosin all the day. Like that's still elbow grease. I don't know how you could automate those processes and still have it be dope with all the.
Yeah. There's like, I guess I'll start with, we've always been BHO, and right now we're just getting into ethanol, and we chose BHO because Tyler is just such a, he just appreciates weed so much.
Yeah.
What he wants to smoke, he wants to smoke something that resembles the plant as closely as possible.
Yep.
And really, like, the only way to get there is with BHO.
Okay.
So CO2 has probably been around, maybe not the longest. People have been doing ethanol extraction for a really long time, but
Yeah.
like big pieces of CO2 equipment have been around for a while for extraction. And like,
Yeah.
it was easy to pull it over from other industries. So it kind of got a foothold in the industry pretty early, because they could take a piece of CO2 extraction equipment that was used for, I don't know, some other, like a perfume oil or something, bring it
Yeah.
straight over to cannabis and just run it.
Yeah, well, like I remember being at a conference and the guy was talking about the supercritical state or whatever with temp and pressure, and he would just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's like that short path is that's the best way to make the most amount of oil, like no matter what. I don't care, BHOs, you know what I mean? Like I just
yeah.
remember him defending it to the death, and he had all these charts and shit, and I was like, man, there was nobody in there really challenging him, and I didn't know enough about BHO or the shit to be like, well, what about this? So I listened, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just tried to
Yeah,
soak
so
up
I
game.
I don't know. I mean, we love BHO.
Yeah,
There's I think there's a place for pretty much every other extraction method except
yeah,
CO2.
yeah,
CO2, like, really, it does well in new markets. The equipment's easy to use, but it's just really inefficient, and you can't get a high quality product out of it.
yeah. It always looks like just fucking brown, and
Yeah,
it's always right
exactly.
about between 30 and 50%. And it
Yeah,
seems like
yeah,
it all tastes the same too, dude. Like there's
for
not really
sure.
much
Yeah.
difference in between each strain that you run.
Yeah, so like, there's this huge profile of different terpenes that are in cannabis, right? And CO2, BHO extracts pretty much the whole profile. CO2 extracts a really specific profile. So basically, it's taking like the same flavors for every extraction. So no matter
Yeah.
what plant you put into it, you get the same flavors out, and it's not a good flavor either.
Nah,
Yeah,
yeah. I remember those selling those in stores, you know what I mean? And
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and now the shit that you can grab is way, way, way better and
yeah,
way
for
more
sure.
flavorful.
But
Um,
rosin's like on the other end of the spectrum. Rosin definitely produces the highest quality product. It's just like you were saying, it's really hard to automate and like scale up and do in large batches.
yeah,
So yeah, rosin I think will probably be, it's always the highest price point, and people are always saving the best part of their harvest to go to rosin.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that, man. And that I don't know, man. When you with the water and the frozen shit too, it just seems like that it would be really tough to automate all that shit and still have it clean itself and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
definitely.
I think I remember seeing a video too of your guys's that said your equipment like cleans itself also. Like there's
Pretty much, yeah,
like
yeah.
like
So we
you
just
just
flow like, we
pour some
basically just
solution
flow a
in.
bunch of solvent through it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, that's tight, man. Um, so when like is there people who are still trying to sell um CO2 type equipment like that you guys are competing with?
Yeah,
Or
definitely. I'd
like
say
that's still a thing? Cause I don't know.
it's
Sometimes
still a
shit
thing. it does really well in like the newer states that just legalized.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after a while, like partly just because of the products that people want to, like in new markets that just opened up, people usually just go for like the highest THC that they can see on the shelf.
Yeah.
And usually that's like a distillate product that doesn't really have much of a flavor.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you know, after a few years, people start wanting something that more closely resembles a plant or has like more cannabinoids and terpenes that were in the original plant. So that's where CO2 really kind of starts to tank and where BHO picks up steam.
Hell yeah. Tight, man. Tight. So
Doing story on sex industry.
Leaving. My ancestors gave me everything that I needed. How to shoot them in the neck, kill it and bleed it. How to live on this earth and be thankful I'm breathing. Get up. Today's our biggest score of the month.
Hey, you must be dirty, dog.
They're gonna love your ass.
How long have you been in the sex industry?
They're all about to spend $100 easy on liquor. About to fucking get into this shit, bro. Drop the gun, please! Getting all this in your fucking notes, bro?
I'm ready whenever you are.
I'm always ready.
what else can you talk about, like, equipment wise, dude? Like, what are, like, some, because it's a pretty big thing, man. Like, it takes up, you know, you probably
Yeah,
couldn't
it
fit it
takes
in
up
a
a
regular
decent amount of
closet.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
so I guess our flagship product, which is the IO extractor, total it's probably like around 4,500 pounds. And there's the main extraction skid. We call it a skid, the main extraction platform, I guess. And it's about 5 feet square and 6 feet tall. So it's not too big. But then you get into all the auxiliary equipment where we have 2 pretty large chillers because temperature control is really important for product quality.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a heating system, we have a cooling tower, and then we have some other auxiliary pumps. So like the footprint gets a lot bigger as you start adding all that stuff.
And most of that stuff is part of the package, right? It's like,
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
you guys don't just sell the 5x5, 6 feet tall thing.
Yeah,
by
we'll
itself.
only sell to the package, and that's part of the automation piece too, because all the equipment, all the electronics on the different pieces of equipment talk to each other. So then, you know, if we sell just one piece, then we're kind of missing the other piece where we can't talk. Like, for example, like our heater, we can't tell our heater to turn on when we need it to turn on unless it's our heater that we designed as part of the package.
Yeah. So no swapping parts in and shit, man.
Yeah.
Dealer
And
parts.
it's just trying to make it easier for people, you know? So like
Yeah.
they don't have to go around and control their chillers separately or their heater. They can do it all from a single touch screen or from their phone.
Yeah, man. That's tight. So, like, can you talk about some of that process, I guess? So, if, say I'm Joe Schmo fucking Chad, and I just got a license and I got fucking tons of material to run, and I'm talking to you, like, how could you sell it to me? Like how much can I process? And like, because I see some of that those terms in the white paper too, like how long you can run, how long it can finish, like all of these. The math is relevant to a nerd like me, man. So like,
sure,
as deep as you want to go, I like hearing that shit, and I'm a sales guy too, so I'm into that, dude. Because
okay. So our smaller unit. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I know what you guys are doing is pretty new and different, man. So talk about it as much as you can, man. I just want.
So our smaller unit, the IO extractor, which is a BHO unit, it does about 450 pounds per day.
Damn.
And we always assume that people are running 3 shifts, so like 24 hours a day. I'd say probably about half our customers are running 24/7.
Damn.
And then our larger unit is in the 800 pounds per day range.
Damn.
And so, yeah, the way the process works, basically, like in our ideal customer is processing fresh frozen material because it's just that's how you get the highest quality.
Yeah.
So straight after harvest, you just buck and check the plant, then you flash freeze it, hopefully as cold as possible, but we hope at least below 0 degrees, more likely around -20.
Okay.
So then once you freeze it, then you basically like locked in all your quality. So like all your terpenes and cannabinoids are more or less there, and then you can take your time to process it. So from the field, either you freeze in the field or freeze it right after you get off the field, then you go and store it. And then from there, we take our biomass packer, which is it's a pneumatic press that we designed. So you'll pour your plant matter into the press, and then we'll compact it. And that's just basically, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when they're freezing their stuff, like they can't really use like a restaurant walk-in freezer, right? You gotta have something
Yeah, you probably
way
have
tighter.
to have something lower temp. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's probably a big expense for those guys too, but it's worth it in the end for quality, right?
Yeah, worth it for quality. Also, it's sometimes easier to do that than to get or cheaper to do that than to get the space that you need for drying.
Ah.
Because if you freeze it, you don't have to dry it. Like there's
Yeah.
no curing process.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
And
takes a lot
usually,
more time too, man.
yeah. And so if you take your whole crop and then you compact it and then freeze it, or freeze it and compact it and then just move it to your cold storage, it takes up a lot less space than dried and cured material.
So you can do that too. You can brick it up and then freeze it, and it'll still be okay for extraction quality wise.
Yeah. There's some ways that you can do it wrong, I guess. So like if you get too much moisture content in there, you might end up with a giant ice cube. And then like, the solvent just can't really get through the ice to extract. But as long as there's some basic like procedures that you can follow to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right on. And so there's no it's just the nugs go in too. There's no no processing of that, chopping it up at all.
Yeah. Like with the nugs, the least amount of handling, the better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because every time you handle it, you just have a chance to like break down cell walls and release or open up chlorophyll.
Yeah.
And just any other like impurities that you don't want in your extract.
No doubt.
Yeah. So you really you treat it like you'd treat the plant if you were gonna smoke it as a plant. You just try to care for it,
No doubt. Okay, man. Sorry for interrupting. So
all good.
After they freeze it, then what's the next step in the process after that?
Yeah. So then you put it into this biomass packer it creates like a little cylinder brick basically. So then you have maybe like a 5 or 8 pound brick. Mm-hmm. You take all those bricks, you put them in your freezer for storage. Then when you're ready to extract, you pull out your cylinder bricks and we put them in a filter bag. It's a 25 micron bag that holds about 25 pounds.
Okay.
So you bag that. That's your first filter that basically just keeps all the plant matter inside the extractor, so it doesn't make it into the extract.
Okay.
So then we take that big bag and put that in our reactor vessel, just a big stainless steel pressure vessel. Mm-hmm. You close that. You latch the lid with 3 bolts, and then basically you walk out of the room and hit the start button. The first thing that the machine does is remove all the air from the reactor vessel. Air is it's a source of contamination. It's got moisture in it, and it kind of messes with the pressures of the process too. So you want to make sure that all the air is removed. So the vacuum pump will automatically kick on. It sucks out all the air. Then it'll close off the reactor and monitor the pressure for a little while and make sure you don't have a vacuum leak.
Right.
So yeah, if you do have a leak, then it'll pop up an error message and it won't start. It'll tell your techs to, hey, something's wrong. Go check it. We think you have a vacuum leak.
Damn, that's tight, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of safety I guess, safety functionality that you can add with automation.
Well, because that's I just remember guys always saying that the guys who run oil is like, and they start posting about it on IG even, is like, yo, change your fucking gaskets, assholes. Like there's like a lot of, I understand a lot of equipment was purchased secondhand, and like you were saying, from other industries and stuff like that. And so a lot of shit was not fully functional. And so guys would have gaskets break, and then sometimes it was big accidents, man. Like anytime I saw a fire or explosion in the news and they didn't say meth lab afterwards, I was like, they're probably making oil.
Yep.
You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I bet that's what they're doing. Or if,
I mean, even just like, even if you didn't buy it used, all that stuff just wears, you know, especially because like we got plant matter in the process. So every time you rub plant against your rubber gasket or your PTFE gasket, it's going to wear it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it can cause a leak, right?
Yeah. I think guys post on IG all the time too about checking your nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Because all extraction equipment, or at least it used to, all use tri-clamp connections, just a specific type of connection that came from food and beverage. Just because it's easy to get brewery equipment. So, but it's really not meant to be taken off and put back on a lot. So they use these brass nuts on a stainless steel bolt, and stainless steel's a harder metal than brass. And so like you take this brass nut off and on a lot, and it just deteriorates. I mean, you can like see the brass shavings in your hand on a lot of these extractors. So like it's a huge problem in the industry that they'll use the brass nuts just too long and they're not checking them enough. And then once you put pressure on it, the clamp will just flow out. And then, you'll lose all your propane, and hopefully you don't have an ignition source.
Yeah, dude, because that's another thing too I saw in your guys' material was about safety, was that you don't have to be in the room while extracting.
Yeah, there's like a million little things you can do to improve safety, but like the biggest one is just getting people out of the dangerous area, right? Yeah, so really like we want people in the room for 90 seconds every hour, like walk in, pull the weed out, put the new weed in, maybe pour your oil, and then walk out again. Yeah, because if you're not around the equipment, you can't get hurt.
Yeah, and that sounds like a pretty easy job to sell someone to. That it's like, bro, if you can't fucking do this, like, you know what I mean? Like, this, you got one job, bro. Fucking, like, so that
the first place that we were at, there's the extractor who used to. So we put like our prototype equipment at this lab around Portland, and they had I think like 4 Sub-Zero extractors that they were using. They had like 8 guys running these constantly. And then as soon as our equipment went in, they turned off all the Sub-Zeros and went down to like 1 guy running the machine, and everyone else just moved to packaging because they were making so much more oil. And the 1 guy running the machine, most of the time, he just he found his like favorite what's it called? Like a swivel chair. And he just sit in front of the machine and do circles on the swivel chair.
Hell yeah,
I think he was pretty stoked.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's got like automating any process at work, bro, is like fuck. Even just cultivation, bro, just even having a drip is like, dude, I don't have to fucking do that shit by hand anymore, man. Like it just it feels way better, and I get all that time back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just makes your life better.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I'm a process guy too. I enjoy learning shit and doing shit. But sometimes if you do it 1,000 times, it's like there's gotta be a fucking easier way, man.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Like for reals.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tight, man. So so when they load the column up in the bag and everything, then they just, if there's no leak, then it just goes. How long? That's like a 8 pound column, you said, or something like that? Or
No, it's
25?
pretty big. It's like 25, yeah.
Holy shit.
25
that is
with
big.
frozen material, which is usually heavier than
okay.
dry. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you run dry, it's 15 to 18 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a pretty big column.
Yeah. And then, so how long does that take from start to finish when you push the button?
So it's all dependent on the recipe that you choose to run, but usually like 50 minutes to an hour and 20, I'd say, is typical.
Damn, that's tight. And so the tech that comes in when it's done, like, does it pour automatic, or does he have to like just hit the switch and then it pours into the pan, or like what's?
Yeah, that's the other manual part of the process, I guess, just unloading it.
Okay.
So we got a pour valve at the bottom. I don't remember if it sounds like you've been in some like BHO labs before.
Oh yeah,
You've
dude.
seen them do the pour out of the collection pot before.
Yeah, and yeah, we used to do shit in the backyard that was really unsafe too, dude. That's why I stopped fucking with that shit too. I'm like, man, we're gonna blow ourselves up. I'm not coming over next time, man. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, but dude, yeah. So you just hit the
so
switch.
we have like a little tray under our collection pot, and where you can put your tray on top of our little shelf, and then you just release the handle, and you could actually go basically all day without pouring. It'll just collect in there, so you can just do one at the end of the day.
Wow. How yeah, so about how long does that pour take for after one column? Like, so like
probably
an hour or so to extract, and then when it's done?
Yeah, hour or so to extract, and then maybe like a minute to pour.
Oh, damn. Hell yeah. And then is there like pressure too that's pushing that through to make it pour out faster?
Yeah, you can basically like choose the pressure you want it to pour at.
Oh, fuck. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing that. One of the homies brought an air compressor one time, and it was just like, oh shit. Like, we could push it through and make it go faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, that was a game changer that summer, but.
No, but I mean, it's like little stuff like that we've been working on over the past 5 years. Someone will have an idea like that, like, hey, let's put a nitrogen source right here because we need a little bit more pressure, and then we'll test it, and then we'll figure out how to automate it. So that's like the most fun that I have at my job.
Because coming up with an algorithm too, like when it gets this high, we got to adjust this much, and then it has to do another reading, and then it's either there or it adjusts this much again, and then it does another reading. Like, that shit's fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's yours truly, True Justice, asking y'all to go check out my brand new podcast, True Reviews and Interviews. It's available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can check it out directly on Anchor. True Reviews and Interviews is a podcast where I discuss topics I'm passionate about, from music to movies to TV, general art, overall health and wellness, physical, financial, mental. I'll be having people join me at the table, over the phone interviews, discussing topics and diving into the perspectives and impacts of life. So hope you can check it out. True Reviews and Interviews available now.
And okay, so after it gets poured, the guy has to empty the column and then put a new one in. Does he have to do any scrubbing or anything like that, or?
Usually no. I mean, usually it's pretty clean because everything's in that filter bag.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say like once a day they'll do a hand wipe.
Okay.
So you just get some alcohol on a rag and wipe it out.
That's good.
It's pretty quick.
Breaking Bad style on them.
Yeah.
Because I always remember that show too, because they talked about contamination a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, it gets like scarier with contamination. Usually, it's not a problem between strains and stuff, because there's such a little amount that can go between runs.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like pesticides or like other real contaminants, it's more worrying. Although like we've had some customers who they've run material with pesticides in it because sometimes you can't catch it early enough, or you only see it in the oil.
Yeah.
And it's like
it'll pass on the flour but be hot on the oil. Yeah, that's happened a bunch of times. Yeah.
But like we don't really get cross contamination with pesticides even.
That's tight.
It's still just a good safety practice to, yeah, if you're ever worried about it, to just clean out so you make sure you don't have contamination.
I remember working for a guy once, and he was doing CO2 extraction, and then he was infusing coconut oil and making the capsules.
Oh yeah.
And that happened to him. The material passed, you know what I mean? And then when he ran the oil and made the capsules were hot. And he had a fucking shit ton of them too. And he made the conscious decision to destroy the product and not.
That's good.
Yeah, he was I learned a lot from him for the few months I worked for him, but I just remember how bummed he was, like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like because he paid me to fucking do a shit ton of those capsules. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's
and he might have he probably bought the biomass too. And
yeah. So I really felt bad for that guy. And
we got a couple customers who do they have a really tiny extraction machine where they can do like a few grams. So they'll get plant matter in and they'll run it through that and then send that out for testing just to make sure. But out of the many customers we have, I think only a few of them are actually doing that.
Word. Yeah, that's a good practice to have, man.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a post on IG where these guys had, probably like 5 or 10 rows. It was a pretty big grow, but not super huge. But they grabbed samples of each strain they ran and put them just in glass jars with ice water. To see which ones were gonna, throw the most off for rosin and shit. And I was like, damn, that's a good test. And you're only using that much material. And it's like, before we spend all this fucking time and money, let's pick the fucking best one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
a lot of it's about figuring out like what extraction process you should use too.
Yeah.
Because like some material is probably, it should probably go through an ethanol extractor to make distillate. And then some stuff is really good at, turning into a really high quality shatter. And then other stuff just comes out best. It's worthwhile to do live resin from it.
Yeah. What are some of the advantage of ethanol, man? Because I remember cartridges in the beginning, like 2014, 2015, and they looked cool. Like they had like this cool little orange color to them, but they fucking tasted like ISO, bro. You know what I mean? I don't know if they, and they're like, oh no, it's winterized, bro. It's winterized. I'm like, it fucking tastes like ISO, dude. Like I don't give a shit what you're trying to sell it as. Like I don't want to smoke that.
Well, I think now the testing requirements for consumer products are better. So like they for sure do test and make sure there's no residual alcohol left. But and then I think ethanol extraction is really only valuable if you're going to a distillate product. So like you're going through winterization, you're going through distillation after that to make like a really high purity THC product. And then, ideally then you get flavoring from a BHO extractor or another extraction method, and add that flavoring to your distillate. Then you get like a really high quality product.
Well, dude, that's when I explain that to people, they're like, how come you don't want to hit the carts? I'm like, I don't know, dude. It just seems fucking like a whole bunch of work for it's like, I don't know. I'd rather just smoke my flower. Or if I'm going to smoke I don't want to smoke that. I'd rather smoke something different.
Yeah.
But to each their own, and products are going to sell based on convenience and shit like that. So, I think that what you guys are doing is probably a little bit cooler, but if you're going to sell equipment to anybody, then that's a fucking dope hustle, bro. It's like, who cares about the product? Everybody could make whatever they want. Just use our shit to make it,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's really I guess that's what we're trying to do in general, is just we're not trying to decide what people make. We want to give them the tools to just make whatever they want to make.
Yeah.
And so we really try to see what are the new products coming out, and then try to predict that a little bit too. So like we think, oh, people are moving in this direction, they're going to want to make something like that later. So let's try to make some equipment there. So when people want to make that, like we have something to offer them.
Hell yeah. That's
Because
tight.
yeah, the products just change so frequently, right? Like new
Yeah.
weed products are coming out every day.
Yeah, dude. This my homegirl, she was like, "Have you tried this isolated weed?" And I'm like, well, they just fucking put isolate on it. And she's like, they said they can only sell it a gram at a time. I'm like, that's what it sounds like from you saying that. And when I
Yeah.
looked at the packaging, I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, they just took isolate and put it on the weed and
Right.
said it was some strain that was this fucking huge percent. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, no one's growing that.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. So I guess like what about maintenance? So like basically every hour and a half the guy can empty and fill up, pour and all that, just 24/7. Like you say every day, try to do like a wipe down or
Yeah,
like,
it really depends like on the process, but yeah, like I guess a typical operator's day would probably be like 5 or 10 minutes an hour is spent on our machine, and then the rest is on post processing. So like our equipment could be up and running for the whole shift, like doing extraction, but the guy running it, he could be focusing on all the vacuum ovens, or like if they're doing distillation or winterization later, he could be working on that. Or like if they're doing like ice water, or if they're doing rosin, he could be doing that extraction while our BHO extraction's happening.
yeah.
And then there's definitely some maintenance that comes up, decent amount of filter changes. So depending on how dirty your material is or some of the process conditions, you might be changing filters once a day or a couple times a day. And then there's some maintenance on the mechanical stuff too. So like our pumps need to be changed. We have gas dryers that try to take the moisture out of the solvent that need to be changed out too. But the nice part of automation is that you don't have to really track that because our machine's tracking it. So it's counting every minute that the pump runs. And then it'll pop up a message on the screen that says, hey, you're 30 hours away from hitting your maintenance time. Like, get ready. Like, next week, prepare some time for it. And then it'll say you're 5 hours away. And then, okay, now you got to change your pump diaphragms.
That's tight,
and same with the
man.
multis. Yeah.
And okay, so say a guy is just fucking like, man, fuck that air screen. I don't care. I'm gonna just will it not run based on
No,
safety?
it'll let them run. Yeah. We got to
okay.
give people like some control,
Okay. All right. That's
So
good.
like, yeah, and the same goes for the process. Like if you want to manually override anything, you can.
Yeah.
But then we have different levels of privileges too. So like if the manager at the business doesn't want some people switching some valves, then you can, they might not have access to that.
Okay. So you can create different credentials on the login or whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's cool, dude.
There's just a million ways that you can customize the software.
Yeah. And it's Android and iOS too?
Yeah.
Damn.
And then we're working on some software for data analysis afterwards. So like all the machines are collecting all this data. Like we're always measuring pressures and temperatures and levels and valve status. Mm-hmm. And then it's storing it right now into a file that you can pull onto a computer and manipulate. But like to do that, it takes a lot of time and effort. And most of our customers are small businesses. They probably don't have someone dedicated to do like data analysis on their equipment.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put software together right now that will help people do that, so they can start picking up key metrics without doing too much work.
Yeah.
Like see how much downtime you have. See if you had a bad batch for some reason, or let's say like you're producing oil for a farm and it's going back to the farm and they're selling it, and they come to you and say, hey, this batch turned out really poorly. You can then go back to the data log and say, okay, well, let's look at what temperature was that, and what were the other process parameters when we ran it, and like, is this in spec? And it'll just help you determine like, okay, was there an actual issue that happened, or maybe like the plant matter from that farm, they had an issue on their end.
Yeah. Because yeah, dude, it seems like sometimes like a farm would be like, yo, this will turn to shadow every time we run it, but then sometimes it wouldn't. You know what I mean? It's like, well, how come it didn't? Did you guys spray something different on there?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
throughout the grow or some shit? And
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
did
know.
we like run it at 5 degrees warmer or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it lets you see both sides of it, or at least rule out the equipment.
yeah, dude, fucking science, bitch.
Yeah.
That's tight,
And
bro.
like, yeah, it's really just like, I don't know, maybe this is a little cliche, but like, this is just the beginning for the cannabis industry, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like, data analysis is, I don't know, it's just getting into this industry, and I think a lot of stuff's gonna get a lot better.
Oh yeah.
Over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, man. Because like in Oregon, what is the OLCC or whatever is the rec governing body? Like, I'm sure they're collecting a bunch of data, but I'm sure they're not really sitting there fucking looking at it and figuring out, you know.
Right.
They're just like, oh, there's all these illegal grows in Southern Oregon. Let's get a fucking few $1 million to go and fucking arrest those people. And it's like,
yeah,
all right, fine, I guess. But there's a whole bunch of more shit there you could sift through and make shit faster. You know what I mean? Like a lot. So that's cool, dude. So we're at 47 minutes. We got 13 minutes left, dude. If you want to stick around a little bit longer. Cool, but I've just completely freestyled this whole interview, bro, pretty much, and it's been dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Yeah, but I always try to ask this question of all of my guests that come on the show. Damn, I forgot to do it last time with these Casillas. But it's a two-sided question. You can say good side, bad side, whatever. The first side of it is, what do you feel has been your best move on the path to where you are right now?
Oh, man, that's a good question.
And it doesn't have to be just one single thing. Maybe it was like, yo, I went to school at Oregon, man. That's where I got my piece of paper. Or man, I fucking met Kyler when we were playing hoop or something like that, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like letting Kyler convince me to come back here and do this was definitely a good decision.
Word.
Honestly, just like picking Kyler as a business partner.
Yeah.
You got to talk to him at some point. He's just he's awesome. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, man. I met him a few times. Like he's a sharp cat, dude.
Yeah,
like, yeah. And passionate
Well,
about.
he's for sure like he's the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I went to school for like, 7 years after high school. I got a lot of formal education, and Kyler is like, he's probably a better chemical engineer than me. And he did not go to school for engineering at all.
Word.
And he just, I don't know, he's one of the smartest guys ever. And
yeah.
we make a super good team that balance each other well.
Hell yeah. And dude, Jackson, man, that's my link to those guys. He's my fam, and he's a super fucking nerdy guy. And so
definitely.
That's why I always like hanging out with those guys, because I get to learn shit, man. Because I'm like, fuck, I don't know any of this stuff. Like, this shit's fucking cool, man. And it's relevant to what I'm passionate about. So I dig when I get to hang out and have those conversations. And that's
well, you should. I mean, you're in Portland. You should just come by our shop and check it out.
I'll try. I'm in Spokane, man, but I actually there was an apartment fire last Thursday, so I'm in a hotel until I can find a place to rent. And if I can't in Spokane, I might come back to Portland, dude. So
all right. Well, yeah, if you're ever back in town.
Oh yeah, for sure. I come out there sometimes. The next thing I'm gonna do is a green screen studio. I'm gonna shoot a music video out there. I was gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna do it the 29th, but I was like, man, I gotta reschedule until I find an apartment, man. But I will be out there. Oh yeah, and then the other side of that question, you said letting Kyler convince you to come back out and work in the industry, and partner with him. That's a dope answer. The other side of that coin is, what do you feel has been your biggest mistake on the path to where you are right now?
Yeah.
Like, maybe some stuff took some time away, or because a lot of guys do a job they don't like for a really long time, and then they find some shit they love, and they're like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that for so long. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty happy with like the path I took to get here. But like after we did start the company, I think we made some mistakes on some of our like partnerships. I think in the industry, sometimes it's pretty difficult. Everyone wants to work together, which is cool. It's really awesome. But sometimes it's hard to find good partners.
It is, dude. And yeah, I mean, because a partner, it's more than just showing up too, dude. You know what I mean? Like, employees can just show up, but it's like, dude, if we're gonna fucking split this, I need you to fucking be there, bro.
I think, all the like individual people we've worked with have been awesome, but some of the more like relationship partnerships that we have, they just kind of took us away from our focus. And
no doubt, man, no doubt. Dude, and then I had another question. Your last name is Naito. Like, is that like Naito Parkway? Is that your family? Are you related to that guy?
Yeah. That's
really?
my grandpa.
Oh, that's cool, dude. So he was just like a Portland guy.
He was a Portland dude. Yeah. He helped bring the trolley car to Portland.
Oh, right on.
He helped he helped put all the public water fountains in downtown.
Dope.
Yeah. Stuff
Dude,
like that.
That's tight, man. Because when I read that in the email, I was like, man, I wonder if he's related to that dude from that family.
Yeah. Not a lot of Naitos. Not a super common name.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And it's Japanese, right?
Yep.
Hell yeah, that's tight, man. So, how can anybody who's listening get in touch with your company or follow you guys online?
Yeah, we're Luna Technologies on Instagram. Our website is lunatechequipment.com. And from our website, you can find us. You can give us a call anytime or email us through there.
Dope. And the white paper is available on the website too?
Yeah, we've got a good resources section on the website we do a ton of webinars, which is the same thing. We're just trying to get more knowledge out into the industry.
Yeah.
And so those are all there. And also, I think we have a section with all of our white papers.
That's tight. So any kids who are listening, if you're trying to get into the industry and there's no fucking college degree for that, nerd out and read as much as you can. If you're into extraction, check out their website, because there's a bunch of information that school's not going to teach you that's relevant to the path you're trying to go down. So
Yeah, maybe one day, but definitely not today. Cannot learn that
Nah,
in school.
hell no, bro. Like that's why I like these interviews too, is because you have a fucking wealth of experience and knowledge, dude. And I got to ask you questions about it for an hour. So I know that I'm
Yeah, thanks.
smarter.
Yeah.
I'm smarter because of it. And hopefully anybody who's listening gets something out of it and wants to,
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
learn more. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude, is there anything else you want to add, Jack? Is there any questions you have or anything?
I don't think so. Yeah, just we got a lot of resources available on our website. You should check them out. And really, the webinars, like they're pretty good. I'm pretty proud of them. We get a lot of
Yeah.
good information out of them.
Yeah, dude. And that's my thing too, is some of my friends, when I go to their house, like they'll turn on the TV and they'll have YouTube. I'm like, cool, man, what are you watching? And it's just fucking mindless bullshit. And they're like, well, what are you watching? I'm like, I'm trying to learn how to record guitar, I'm trying to learn how to mic an amp. I'm trying to like learn all kinds of shit, man. Like, I don't know. And so the webinar shit, that's where it's at, dude. Like I like watching that kind of content.
Yeah, they're interesting. You can like see the inside of an extraction lab, and they're good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, dude. Well, shit, I'm happy with that interview, Jack.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do my outro dance. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the 100th episode of Concerned Dabs Podcast. I was your host, Katie M. Kane. My guest, Jack Naito from Luna Technologies. Please check out their website. Lots of interesting informational resources, man, about extraction and cannabis in general. So please check them out. Follow them on IG, and it's at Luna Technologies, no underscore or anything like that.
Yep, that's correct. Just at Luna Technologies.
At Luna Technologies, and I'll post both of those links in the description. Episode 100, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. All right, dude.